Hey everybody, it's Lauren. Welcome back to my channel, Love Without Limits. In this video, I'm going to share my sustainability ins and outs. So if you want to see that, then just keep watching. Before I jump into this video, if my voice sounds a little bit raspy, it's because I've been dealing with allergies, so pardon me. In a recent video, I did my wellness trends ins and outs for 2023, and I figured I'm gonna do the same for sustainability because I love talking about sustainability. I haven't had a sustainability video in so long, and there are so many trends with sustainability and eco-friendly things that I feel like this is always good, always timely, and I'm gonna share my 5 ins and my 5 outs when it comes to sustainability trends and actions and things that you can do. Starting off with what I think is upcycling and repairing. So instead of tossing things or even just donating when something gets a tear or a hole, because very often if that gets donated and it has that tear or the hole, so it's just gonna end up in the landfill anyway. So I know you think you're doing great because you're dropping it off and somebody's gonna have this shirt even though there is a pit hole. It's gonna end up in the landfill. It's just gonna take a longer way for it to get there. So with repairing, it's fixing that hole in the pit. I've had so many things where I just get like these tiny little holes, either like in a legging off to the, like on the side, or some pair of shorts, even a shirt where the straps were too long and it has like these adjustable straps, and even the shorter ones were too long. It looked weird on me. So I just cut a little hole and it looks a little janky, but you can't see the holes. And now it fits perfectly. Just repairing what you have in order to make it last longer. You get even more value out of it. You get more cost per wear, or the cost per wear goes down because you're able to wear it more. And if it's something that you like, just fix it, because if you don't and you just think you're going to donate it, it's not going to be donated. And similarly to that is upcycling. So if it is something that is so tattered beyond repair, you can upcycle it into something else, taking something and just sewing a little edge around it, and now that's a rag to clean things. And you know, it's just something that you have to use for other things. Another thing that you can do is upcycle into like new fashion things. Austin has this really nice button-up work shirt. It was one of my favorites of his, and he tore it. I thought, I was like, I can fix it. Can I fix it? But then it might look weird even if I bust out the sewing machine. So I'm like, you know what I'm gonna do? Because I really like the shirt, I can just take that, find another one that's like similar size, patch them together. I found this thing on Pinterest. It's not like my favorite photo. This isn't exactly what I want to do, but this is like the concept. So I still have this shirt in the closet because my mom's sewing machine is packed away because they're remodeling the house. But once I get access to a sewing machine, like that's something I can do, and then I can wear it because I really like the shirt. But number one for just sustainability ends is repairing when possible, and when not possible, upcycling into something else. So that way it just doesn't go to waste. Number 2 is the most obvious in theory, but is sometimes hard to actually do in practice. So it's just being more mindful of keeping your reusables on hand. First of all, reusable water bottles, the easiest of things. Keep them readily available, so you go for these over something else. This is my larger Hydro Flask, which I love because it's huge, it's insulated. I was recently sent this Lark filter, which I like more because instead of going all the way downstairs, filling it up, having to make sure that the water filter is filled. It has a filter straw in it, so I can literally just like go to Austin's bathroom and fill it up, and during calls not have to hike all the way downstairs and back up. What I don't love about it is that even this larger size of the bottle, it's insulated, but the straw, I'll show. The filter's on the straw, which is quite large, so you can't even fill the water up all the way, because if you do, once you stick the straw in, the water will come out. So that's my one qualm, is that even this larger size doesn't hold a ton of water, so I do have to refill it more often. Whereas this is a lot more water in it because there's no filter in it. So this one I still use when I go to the gym because it's just nice to have a big water and not have to refill. So having options that you will actually use, ones that hold enough water, ones that can clean your water, and actually like carrying them around with you, even having an extra one in your car. So if you're on the go and you need water, and other reusable things that are just easy to carry. Reusable cutlery. You can have some of this in your car. I have a bamboo set in my car, but this is like a compostable plastic. I have issues with that phrase, but it is an eco-friendly, more sustainable plastic. And beyond that, unlike other just regular plastic cutlery and even like single-use cutlery that's compostable, this is designed to be reused. It's sturdy, it's not gonna break, like the fork isn't gonna snap off every time you go to stab a piece of chicken so you can cut it. It's actually durable, easy to clean, and it has a little storage case. So this I got at one of my old jobs, and I would just take it with me. Just leave it in your lunchbox, or leave a set in your car, leave a bamboo set in your car. I don't care what you're buying. Just have some set in your car. And then of course, you don't have to buy from me. Obviously, I would love it if you did, because you're supporting a small woman-owned business. I have my glass straws, and I think there's a bamboo one in here, always in my bag. They're designed to be so small. Even, I don't have it out, but I have a little fanny pack. Fits in there perfectly. It fits in like all my purses so perfectly, unless you have like one of those mini purses, different story. You know, it's just keep it in your car if your purse is too small. Always having one, so you never know when you're gonna go through a drive-thru and then, oops, I got my reusable straw. It has a little travel pouch, which clearly I go and get Thai iced tea and then put the straws back in there, so that needs to be washed. But just always having that on you, especially, I know it is harder for guys because like they don't have a purse where they can just like put everything in there. So having things in your car that are just readily accessible, taking it in, washing it, and just remembering to put it back in your car. Like, yes, you have to be more mindful. You have to be aware. You have to like remember to put the straw back in your car. Yes, it's an extra step, but eventually it becomes second nature. Like, you don't even think about it, and you're not using single-use plastic. So it's good for you, good for the planet, everybody wins. Same goes with a reusable coffee cup, which you can also get at rainreusables.com. Just knowing if I'm gonna go get coffee today, even if you think you're gonna get coffee, having this on hand. I'm gonna go get coffee with a friend in an hour. What am I taking? This, because I know I'm gonna go see her and we're gonna get a coffee. And a lot of coffee shops will actually give you like 50 cents off every time you bring your own reusable coffee cup. If you use it just 64 times, once a week for slightly over a year, it's paid for itself. And then other ones to have on hand, which are actually in my car, is just reusable shopping bags for whenever you're gonna go to the grocery store, with some reusable produce bags in that. That way you don't have to grab the single-use plastic ones. So just being mindful and aware of actually using your reusable items and having them in places where they're easy to use. Another sustainability in, and should be getting even bigger, and it's something I'm so passionate about, it's community gardens. And just before I even get further into it, one of my life goals is to, well, one, I want to do documentaries in the environmental and sustainability space, and hopefully I inspire people to make change and can bring awareness to a lot of stuff, long story short. And with that, I would also love to either found or partner with, or just work with in some capacity, a nonprofit that brings nutritional education and community gardens to underprivileged areas, because they are in food deserts, and it's just a whole other thing that I can just get into, so that they're forced to go to the cheaper option, which is usually just fast foods. Then it leads to a health crisis, and then youth obesity, which leads to more health crisis in the future. And then people are like, but the healthcare system is trash. It's like, but we wouldn't need this healthcare system if we were also sick. It's cyclical. And the way to combat that, in my opinion, is to have community gardens where children can go after school, put them in a safe space. They can learn how to grow food. They can just be involved. Then they can have nutrition education. They can use and cook the food that they have. That way they can have healthy food and healthy meals, and just a place to be, but not even just in underserved communities. I think community gardens should be everywhere. Just my main focus would be underserved communities, because they're the ones that are most impacted by food scarcity. Anyway, community gardens and just growing locally, supporting local farmers, going to the farmers market. I think it's just a huge in, because you're supporting someone directly, you're growing the food locally, so you're cutting out all of the extra carbon emissions and the transportation. It's fresher because it doesn't have to go through this whole process just to get to your grocery store shelves. Not community garden related, but food related. Even shopping with imperfect foods to save all the food that's just like, this one's like a slightly too small, bye. You can still get it, save it, and then it won't go into the landfill where it will create methane gas, which is worse than carbon emissions. But long story short, community gardens need to be an in. I think they are starting to pop up more. People are starting to learn about them more. Hopefully my rant inspired you to learn about them more. I feel like I can get so into it. That's like literally what I want to do with my life. And I know like there's no money in nonprofits or in documentaries, but like, yeah, girl doesn't care. I just want to do it. And my fourth sustainability in, and something that just, there needs to be more of them, are refill shops. We need more of them. I went to one a few weeks ago for the first time, and like, that is my heaven. Like when I thought, this is where I'm gonna be when I die. Nice, it's organized, it's neat. Finally, there's one down the street, so I went in, was unprepared to like get anything. So when the guy was like, do you need a bag? I was like, nah, I'm good, because you can't get a bag at a refill store. But I did get some more maca just because Austin and I were out, so I bought a little jar for it. But it's something that, like, had I planned for that, we have so many jars and mason jars and jars from when Austin goes to the farmer's market and gets his walnut butter. We have so many jars that I can just next time take those. I got some drops because I've always been wanting to try the drops dishwasher detergent, and it's so easy. And for what I got, and maca is just like expensive in general, but considering I got maca and like some things, did not spend that much money. And my friend Sarah got some things, and she, as we were leaving, was like, this is so nice, this is so easy, it's like so easy to do and to come and refill things. There should be more of these. And I'm like, that's the issue. It is easy, it is affordable. Like, we were both shocked with how little we spent, considering like, oh, everything looks nice. Like when a store looks nice, you're like, I'm about to drop some money, and we didn't for what we got. But it's the lack of them, the lack of access to them, the lack of access to them to people who also need it most, like need that accessibility. There aren't any around. So I think a big trend, something that we definitely need to see more of, is just local refill shops, shopping local, using reusable containers, and not having all this excess waste or just junk lying around. And there just needs to be more that are more accessible to more people. And my last sustainability in is clean kitchen tools. So this is a plethora of things, but one thing that I've really seen grow over, especially just kind of the last few years, mainly this last year, are pans and just kitchen items that are non-toxic. It's none of the stuff that, like, when it comes off of your pan into your food or into the water system, then it creates all of these toxins, environmental toxins, which lead to health issues. And you're eating that, like you're eating Teflon. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody needs that in their body. It's a toxin for a reason. So just the growth of non-toxic cookware. We have the made in carbon steel pans, and it's basically like a thin cast iron is the way it cooks. And it's just such a good pan. Having that, knowing I'm not eating toxins when I'm eating my food or when I'm rinsing this pan. Other than the pans and cookware, using silicone liners and baking sheets instead of foil or parchment paper. And if you do need parchment paper, getting the clean, recyclable, like non-bleached brands. And then also just wooden utensils or wooden things. All of our cleaning brushes are wooden, and the brush, the top, can be replaced once it gets dingy, but it's been a few years, has not gotten dingy yet. It's good quality, it's not plastic, so even when I'm brushing away, like little plastic micro pieces aren't rinsing down the sink, contributing to the microplastic problem. And also wooden cooking utensils. I had some plastic ones for a while, and then the edge started getting like kind of gross, and it was like, it like peeled off once, and I was like, how much of this have I eaten? So it went, and I got some wooden spatulas and turners and tongs. So yeah, you can't just pop them in the dishwasher. You have to like hand clean them because of the wood, but it's so much better because if a little bit of wood breaks off, whatever, I just feel good about that. Slowly transitioning things to wood. I'm not like just buying wood and tossing everything else. I'm like slowly making that transition. We don't need these extra toxins in our life. So switching to clean, non-toxic, sustainable cookware and cooking utensils, which is again not only good for the planet, but it's good for you too. Now really quickly, my 5 sustainability outs. The first one being packaging in general, excessive packaging, styrofoam. It's 2023. We don't need to be using styrofoam anymore when there's corn-based and mushroom-based packaging that's way better, can actually be composted, is actually good. But just like packaging in general, have you ever gotten something from Amazon and they're just like, here's bubble wrap that you didn't need, and then it has like the little, it's like recycle me. I'm like, but you can't be recycled though. You can't do that. So just excessive packaging, which also leads into number 2, which is wish cycling. That this little thing, it's like recycle me, can't be recycled, but somebody's gonna put it in there, and then it's gonna screw up a recycling machine, and then nothing's gonna get recycled. And that's why only 8% of everything that actually ends up in a recycling bin actually gets recycled. Take the time to learn what can actually be recycled in your area. It's different from city to city because of their recycling capabilities. So taking time to learn what specifically in your area can and cannot be recycled. If you put this one in there, then it's gonna screw everything up. And then if this batch is like contaminated, then like even if half of that could be recycled, like we're not even gonna touch it. Learning to not put your recyclables in a plastic trash bag because they can't see into it, so nobody's gonna like cut into that bag to be like, is it water bottles? Or they don't know, it's an occupational hazard, so they're not gonna cut into it. So you might be thinking like, look at me putting all my water bottles in this bag and tossing it. They're not gonna get recycled because they're in a bag that's not gonna get open, and the bag also cannot be recycled. Putting styrofoam in the recycling bin is like my biggest pet peeve, and every time I see it, I literally sometimes go put my recycling in the bin in our garage and I'll see styrofoam in there and I like dig through and put it in the trash can because I'm like, are you people stupid? Like I literally want to knock on everyone's door and just be like, are you dumb? Don't do that. It can be recycled, and just like don't use styrofoam. Try to avoid it, please, please. Also, recycling things that have food on it, that leads to contamination. Too much, nothing gets recycled. Even if it could have been recycled, but there's food on it. Like pizza trays, rip it off, the greasy part, trash can. Not greasy part, recycling bin. Or even if you're getting a plastic container from takeout, don't just be like, oh, done with my plastic container, gonna put it in the recycling bin. Rinse it out. It literally takes like 5 seconds. Or like when we're done with like an almond butter jug, I rinse it out, I'll like pop it in the dishwasher even, and then I put it in there. That way it can actually be recycled. And something that even I was doing was when we would finish our almond milk, I'd rinse it because I was like, gotta get the residue out from the inside, put it in the recycling bin. And then very recently, I was just observing the bottle, and there's like a zipper graphic on the side, and it's like rip off the label and then the bottle can be recycled. I was never doing that, so I was like, all these bottles that I've been putting in there have had this label on there and have not been recycled. So now it's like taking the label off, taking the caps off, because the caps are a different plastic than the bottle itself. So just being more mindful of how you're recycling, not wish cycling, which is just throwing things in there thinking like, hopefully it gets recycled, because that hope and like that wish of like, maybe it'll get recycled might actually lead to like a lot more stuff not getting recycled. So taking the time to learn and to actually do it properly. The third is brands that are greenwashing. So greenwashing, you're out. We don't need that anymore. We're not dumb. We can look at things and realize like what's actually clean, what's actually non-toxic, what's actually recyclable. An example of this was the other day at work. We were talking about an episode that would be in April on like sustainability and just like eco-friendly products, and they were talking about a brand. The founder was like, oh, nobody was buying it because it was like sustainable, but then when you like make it look nice and it's like, oh, it's cool, it works, and it's eco-friendly. And they were telling me that story, and I was like, but it's not though. It's in plastic. And if you look at the EWG clean ratings, it's also not the cleanest. So I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, which is just greenwashing. You're thinking like, oh, look at this story because like it works, bonus points, it's sustainable. But I'm like, how? So brands that are sustainable, that are actually not sustainable, that's greenwashing. Brands are like, we use recycled materials, but it's like 2% of that shirt is actually a recycled cotton. That's greenwashing. Brands that are like, we're doing better for the planet and then don't do crap, that's greenwashing. So those brands, you gotta go. The fourth one is vegan leather, because vegan leather is not, it's plastic. Let's be honest. Vegan leather is pleather, which is plastic leather, and it will fall apart. It won't last. You're wasting your money. It's gonna end up in the landfill because you can't even repair it. Nobody's gonna recycle it. It can't be recycled because of all the various plastics that are put together to make this pleather. And people buy pleather thinking like, oh, it's vegan, it's good for the planet, we're not hurting cows. But it's also like, it's worse for the planet because you're actually extracting fossil fuels and petroleum to make this plastic, to make this pleather, which is hurting all of us, including the cows. Pleather, vegan leather, stop calling it vegan leather, because it's, people like vegan because it's like, oh, it's doing less harm, it's not hurting anything, but it's actually doing more harm in the end. So I just feel like vegan leather is just so not right. Call it what it is. It's pleather, it's plastic leather, it's plastic, it gotta go. And last but not least, my fifth sustainability out is the same wellness out that I spoke about in that video, and is excessive trends and aesthetics and just it girl, the whatever girl, I don't even know what it is, but all of these trends, and I kind of touched on it in the last video, but I stopped myself. It increases consumerism, and then people have to like buy this thing to keep up with the Joneses, but the Joneses are changing every week. These trends change every week, and it's cyclical. So then by the time you like toss something because you're like, that's out anymore, I don't need that, I've moved on, then it comes back, so you have to rebuy it again, or like rebuy a version of it again. It's a waste of your money. It's just a waste of things that you're buying to fit whatever aesthetic that people are saying you have to do, which you don't have to. Just find what you like. Maybe an aesthetic will like inspire something, be like, oh, I didn't know about that. I like that. I like how it looks. Let me incorporate it into my own personal aesthetic, my own personal likes, and then keep it and buy things and invest in things that will last and won't just fall out of favor and like next year be like, ugh, like why is she wearing that? Like, although if you are wearing it and you like it, like go for it. You do you, okay? Don't let these trends and the TikTokers tell you what to do and what not to do and what's in and what's out, because they don't even know. They're constantly changing. And you're honestly, it's just, if you try to do that, it's fighting a losing battle. It's losing a lot of money, and it's not good for the planet. It just creates excessive consumerism. It forces people to go into like these fast fashion brands to keep up because they're cheap and they're always changing and they're like on top of the trends, but it's just gonna fall apart and end up in the landfill and be plastic, and it's plastic on your body. Could just go on and on about this. So without making this video 2 hours long because of just how much I could say on sustainability and on all of these individual topics, I will leave you there with those 5 sustainability ins and outs. So if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, comment down below what you think is in and what you think is out, and what else you want to see here on my channel. And while you're there, be sure to subscribe. I upload a new video every Wednesday. So until the next one, thanks for watching.